Hello.
Hey, Lloyd.
How are you?
Good, good. Great to meet you face to face finally, kind of.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I really appreciate you taking the time and being part of this with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my
We,
pleasure.
I know you and I met on one of the groups. Walking Crow is in Sedona. He's a drum maker. He's a transformational shamanic healer, life coach, mentor, a medicine man, seer, storyteller, philosopher, speaker, and media host.
Oh.
Um, I've been watching your Tuesday for quite a while, and I enjoy it. The drumming, it's the heartbeat.
Yeah. Oh, which is the basis of my teaching, the heartbeat.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
When you sent me the title, autonomy is the fluidity of movement within the unit of the pillars.
Oh,
I was like, wow, that's thought provoking.
right.
So I'm excited to hear where this goes.
Well, it's interesting. Last Sunday, you know how Facebook sends you those memories? And
Yep.
this was a quote that came out of me that got channeled to me a year or more ago. I don't even know. So I just reposted it. And then that night I went online to drum on Sunday and to sing and just to do a little teaching like I do. And the teaching was about the autonomy of is a fluidity, and I was like, wow. And the fluidity is the energy, the ebb and flow, the happening, what's going on, seen and unseen, that happens between you and I, me and grandmother tree, me and grandfather sun, me and grandmother moon, me and a loved one, a girlfriend, a client, whatever, whoever it is, and maintaining my autonomy within that relationship as fluidity. Do you know what I'm talking about? Not becoming attached.
Yeah.
Not becoming attached to the thinking, not becoming attached to the idea, to the Mayic energy, the material aspect of it, the thinking of it. All my work is done in the body. This is the big void, and when people really ask me what I do, I say I help you go from gu to ru. Gu is darkness, ru is light. I'm not a guru. I'll never claim that title. I don't. But I will help you. I'm a facilitator to help you move into your light, your heartbeat, your fire, your fuego, expanding the energy of your esteemed self, if you will. Because most of us, if not all of us, walk around in not very high self-esteem at all, because that's not what we're taught.
Right.
So fluidity is brought. The fluidity is dammed, like the Colorado River is dammed in various places to do what it does as far as electricity, as far as watering fields and different things. There's blocks that show up, and they're not self-made, they're man-made. They're man-made by parents, man-made by teachers, politicians, other people that instill fear into us, and the fluidity stops, and we get stuck, and we don't talk about it. I don't have a voice. I don't have a meaning. I don't have a doing. Then I end up searching for stuff and searching for meaning in marijuana, cigarettes, alcohol, spirits in, spirit out, right? Food, hoarding, you name it. And what happens? We get stuck. And I use myself as an example. When I became a healer, I was 238 pounds. But I have always been a healer. I just didn't know that I was. So when I started to shed the wounds, the hurts, the shames, the traumas, all those things that I carried with me for a lifetime, I became 160 pounds, and it was symbolic of what was happening to me, because instead of, I had a big mouth at the time, but I never talked about anything significant like this right here, right now. I was always talking about, where we're going to go party and what we're going to go do and how I look and, chasing women and all that stuff, trying to fill the void, right? And I didn't know how to unblock myself from you. There's a song by an Irish group called the Hot House Flowers, and it goes like this. I remember as a little child kicking against the stone wall I built around myself. I won't give in. I won't feel guilty. I'll just rise up and I'll be myself. I'm just trying to get through. Well, I stopped trying and I started doing, right? I started to let go of those hurts and wounds and do the work, the deep work, doing womb story with my mother, early year trauma story with my mother, and all those things where she thought I was taking myself into a frenzy by asking all these questions, but she didn't understand that the answers were healing me. They became the stepping stones to my enlightenment, I hope. And they became the stepping stones to the enlightenment of others, the fluidity. That's the fluidity. As the Bible says, as a man speaketh, so is he in his heart. Well, you hear everything that I say. And I never apologize for anything. And I say what I say because that's who I am. That's what I do. That's who I always was. It's just that when the block went up at 5 years old in Catholic school and parochial school, by being slapped and pinched and arm pulled and hair pulled and all those things, being called stupid, I just shut down and I went no further until I was 50. That's a long time to be shut down. Now, the Mayan teaching is we live in duality. I live in duality. Divine feminine, divine masculine, earth, sky, fire, water, right? Sun, moon, and the duality of lifetimes. The Aztecs and the Mayans, when they have their dancers, their Aztec dancers or the Mayan dancers dance, they wear what's called ayotes. Ayote is a Mexican word or a Nahuatl word for the seed pod, the dry seed pod from the white oleander. And when they dance, they wear those around their ankles as rattles. They wear 52 and 52, symbolic for the lifetime, 0 to 52 and 53 to 54. I think that's 52 each. I don't know how that breaks down. But the duality, meaning the second half of the lifetime, at 52, we become elders, is their teaching. And I believe that I became an elder at 52. And just prior to that, at 50, 51, I was in an Afrobeat orchestra in Los Angeles. I started getting trained to be a healer, and all this stuff started unraveling. And it was actually about 5 years later when I realized that I had become an elder. But in all that time, I had been unraveling and teaching and understanding and figuring out. And, and I said this the other day, there is no book to teach what it is that I do. I was trained as an energy healer. That's it, and that's all. Energy, chi, prana, right? You can't build it, you can't create it, you can't destroy it. It just is. It just transforms into other forms of energy. So I'm an energy healer, and in that is the understanding of fluidity of how my energetic field works with not only my chakra system and the superhighway of my spine, but also for me as an indigenous native person of the Americas, for me it works hand in hand with the medicine wheel, the 4 directions. The direction of the east, grandfather, son, manifesting. The direction of the south, the direction of air. The direction of the child, the direction of spirit, direction of the west, direction of the woman, direction of emotion, EMOCEAN, fall, autumn, letting go. Creativity, abundance, because it's in the autumn that we harvest. So direction of the west, divine feminine, she's the creator, she births. And then divine direction of the north, winter, earth, direction of rest. It's where the ancestors live when they cross over. It's where I and you will live when we cross over. It's a place of wisdom, a whole wisdom. So the fluidity of all those things, between me and wherever I'm going is the fluidity. And during that, I maintain my autonomy. And the autonomy is what? Walking Crow. Remember when I asked you to change the name of, on the thing? Because Anthony was that kid they tried to shut down. Anthony was that kid they did shut down. But Walking Crow was the one that was birthed into this world and got shut down at 5. And it took all those years later for me to to come out of the chrysalis, to come out of the cocoon and to grow my wings and to be the butterfly, that magnificent butterfly or the phoenix that I was always meant to be, and, I don't, like I said, I don't apologize for anything. There's people who, it's interesting. I use the Bible, I use the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, I use a lot of other teachings, but a lot of what I teach comes channeled through me, which I didn't know that I could do that. Why would I? Right? They're teaching me about Jesus and God and all those things, and don't do this and don't do that and don't do this and don't do that, but they don't tell you what to do or what you can do. They never did. And I always got in trouble for the doing. I was always called the troublemaker. I was called hyperactive. I was called all those things. I was flunked in the second grade, and all those things became the stepping stones of what I like to call a brilliant life of Walking Crow, the transformation of Walking Crow. There's a saying in Alcoholics Anonymous that says, we have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Well, my question is, have you or haven't you? Right? Have you or haven't you? There's no, I don't know, there's no gray area. You either know or you don't. And the not knowing shows up in the fluidity of low self-esteem, because that's fluidity also. That's autonomous. That is autonomous. But how do I become autonomous and esteemed at the same time? And a lot of times, like I did when I became esteemed, and I stand in and people say, well, you're kind of arrogant, aren't you? I'm like, you want to know how long it took me to get like this? To be able to speak these words, to undo what they did, to undo unravel the sweater, if you will, right? I pull the thread of the sweater and I unravel it whole. So at first, maintaining my fluidity, maintaining my autonomy was difficult because I had low self-esteem. I didn't know how to. Who was teaching me? Nobody. But there's guys out there like Don Luis Miguel who write books like the four Agreements, and they confirm what I'm teaching. They confirm what I'm talking about. And I realized, without wanting to give it a label, I am a Toltec artist, a Toltec teacher, a Toltec medicine man. And I didn't have any clue what that meant. But like I said, there are no books that teach what I do, and I'm the book. So every Tuesday, you hear me come on and say, welcome to Tuesday. What are you ready to choose for yourself today? What are you ready to choose for yourself for others? Because it's not for us to keep, it's for us to give it away, And you can't give it away if you don't have it. So where do you get it from and how do you do it? I hope. That was a long answer, wasn't it?
Yes. But yeah, I mean, when you said it to me, it made me start to think. And I've heard the words this week, because you said about you went from here to here. And I've been hearing the words that the sage walks with an empty mind and an overflowing heart.
Oh.
So yeah.
Well, part of the teaching that I teach is the sound of the drum, the sound of the heart. And my teaching is really about bringing people to that sound, to the place of that sound that they heard when they were first conceived in utero. The first sound they heard wasn't splash, although physically, myically, materially, yes. But the first sound was this: the sound of Mother Earth's heart, the sound of Pachamama, Maya, Gaia, Pachamama, Madre Tierra, Mother Earth, matter, memory, air, heart, lungs, air. I love, I'm loved. Heart, lungs, air. I don't have the capacity to love, and I don't have the capacity to be loved. And the heart sound comes from what? Fluidity. Fluidity of what? The life source, the lifeblood that pumps through that organ. Boom, boom. And it's called an organ. What an interesting concept. It's called an organ. An organ and a piano are percussion instruments. Mm-hmm. And so is a drum. So through this organ, through this heart, through the air, through the lungs, our journey is to come back to that place, a place of love. a place of love, to live from here, not from, man, this Jackson, you look at the world right now, the fear that people are living in. Everybody's got a mask on, everybody's got gloves on, everybody's, you know, and if you look at that closely, it's also a gag. People are being gagged, bound. Be quiet, be quiet. It's symbolic. And it's not only symbolic to be quiet, it's symbolic that they've been quiet and they have not stood up and they have not risen their voice. They haven't risen or stood like the tree. You know, you hear me say this all the time. I'm the tree that didn't get knocked down by the four winds. What are your four winds, right? Poverty, unemployment, coronavirus, you name it. People have 1,000 winds and they get knocked down by all those winds. I'm the tree that was able to remain standing, and I may lose a branch and I may lose my leaves, but like the tree, I remain standing and I extend my branches into the heavens, and the birds of the air nest in my branches and eat of my fruit. And what is my fruit? My fruit is the experience that I share of how I got from point A to point B, the fluidity between point A and point B that I kept on moving, I kept on doing. I didn't keep on thinking and wishing and wanting, and that's not manifestation. That's block. That's a block. So, and it's funny, this week, my fluidity has been flowing like crazy. I sold a bunch of drums this week, and I had clients this week, and everybody's, you know, worrying about where their dollar's going to come from. I'm not. Like the tree, I have become selfless. A tree is selfless. A tree never sees itself. It only sees the star, the moon, the skies, the sun, the ground animals, the birds, the other trees, the plants, the people. It never sees itself. It never ceases itself. It doesn't stop. I don't stop. So if we can become fluid in that way and not remember what we're supposed to be doing, but to feel through what we're supposed to be doing, how it is we move forward into in between the pillars. And what are the pillars? It's right now, it's you and I and whoever's listening. Those are the pillars. How are they receiving what I'm saying? Some might not like it, but that's got nothing to do with me, because they may not be where you are, where I am, and where everybody's at a different stage in the journey. There's no destination. There's no end point, right? Because energy keeps on going. When my physical body goes away and it goes into the north, I'm going to live in the north, and they're going to I believe they're going to dispatch me in another way, you know, to wherever it is they need me and want me to go. Now, I don't necessarily know if that's reincarnation, but I don't have a name for it, you know. So for now, I guess that's the better name. I hope.
Okay, well, I'm going to let you go ahead and do your thing.
All right, we got a lot till what, 12:45 or?
Yep.
All right. So you know, thank you to you and your wife for doing this. I haven't done any of this kind of stuff in quite a long time, so I'm really honored, and I feel really blessed to be able to be here and be in the fluidity of within the wings of Walking Crow, right? Within the talons of Walking Crow.
Yeah.
And I say this, and I speak of fluidity in my autonomous nature of Walking Crow, because I walk on the earth. I'm grounded, I'm rooted, and I'm fruited, right? But I'm also I live in the heavens because I fly, I soar in the sky. So understanding the fluidity and the nature of who I and what I am is what I want to get across today, really, and who and what you are. You know, how do you see yourself? Do you see yourself the way that you were raised? Are you a part of your parents' loin than their lineage? And there's a definite difference then from loin to lineage, because loin is material. Loin is Mayic energy, and lineage is not. Lineage is the fluidity of your life and the lives of others, as they have presented themselves in your world, in your spirit world, in your dream world, in your physical world here, not necessarily in the physical, but in your physical of the walking of your path and the walking in your world. How was it that they come to you? Does your grandmother come to you in your dreams? Do you write poetry? Do you write songs? Are you like myself, where you make instruments, rattles, drums, mallets and things. You know, all this started in the weirdest way. I just became an energy healer, and I didn't even know what an energy healer was. I thought an energy healer, well, I didn't know what it was. A girlfriend of mine at the time said, you should become an energy healer, because she heard me talking to a guy that I sponsored in Alcoholics Anonymous. And she heard my side of the conversation, and I guess she was impressed. So she said, you should become an energy healer. So I looked up a school. I went to go check it out, a place called Lionheart Institute for Transpersonal Energy Healing. And I wasn't impressed. There was 2 people there auditing the class, and it was one person was suicidal, and it wasn't me. And I never went back until a year later, when I was given a healing session with somebody that I didn't know was a student at that school. And she was a friend of my girlfriend's at the time. And because I had that healing session, because it was so profound, and I was open to what could be, what the possibilities could be, seen or unseen, it's because of that healing session, the fluidity of the autonomy that happened between that healer and myself. Her name is Kat, that I'm here talking to you today, I'm maintaining my autonomy in the fluidity of my life, which is earthbound, which is etheric, which is heart-based, which is my fire, my esteemed, it's my water, it's connection to you, it's my ether, it's my knowing, it's my universe, a whole. It's all things. I am all things. I am godlike. And that's what it means to be in the fluidity of your autonomy within the pillars, the number 2, the number 11, a whole. It's the space between them that brings them together. This is also the gateway. You see it in the tarot. They talk about the gateway, stepping through the pillars, stepping through the what is known as number 2, or the pillars 11, is the gateway. The gateway of what? My duality. Oh, my duality. Well, what does my duality look like? I don't know. What does it look like to you? Go look in the mirror. And that's kind of harsh, to go look in the mirror, but that's the only place that I could find myself, because I didn't find it under the rug, under the bed, in the closet. I didn't find it in the drawer where I keep my socks or my underwear, or, in my trunk of my car. It wasn't in any of those places. So being able to have that experience, the fluid experience of an energy healing, and was just the most amazing experience. And other people get to share that fluidity with me. I have clients across the country. I have people who follow me around the world. I have drums around the world, across the country. People have my rattles around the world and across the country. And it's a beautiful feeling to me to be Walking Crow, once upon a time Anthony J. Rodriguez, but to be Walking Crow and be known for some of the, for lack of a better word, some of the crazy things that I say. Because I've had some pretty amazing quotes that the guides give me, that the spirits give me, that spirit gives me, a whole great eagle, creator, great spirit, God, if you will, great mother, a whole, Mother Earth, the energies that ebb and flow through my life, and that ebb and flow through yours. I'm not unique. I like to say I'm not unique, I'm not special, but I am special because I do it. I don't talk about doing it. I don't write about doing it. I don't think about doing it. I don't wish about doing it. I don't gonna do it. I don't want to do it. I do it. I'm in the doing of my being and in the being of my doing. And there was I'll use this as an example. I was at what's it called? A psychic fair one time. And I didn't go to do any readings. I just went to meet friends and to become fluid within the healing circle, of the sacred circle of the community, the common unity. So I went there and I took my sage, I sell sage. Well, I used to sell sage. I don't actually sell it anymore. And I was sitting at a table, and this beautiful blonde walked up to me. And, I'm high human. I'm still a guy. As much as I'm a teacher, I'm a sage, and I'm all those things, a medicine man, a shaman, all those things. I'm still a guy. I'm just high human. I'm just a guy. So I don't get too caught up in my ego. And she walked in and she looked at me. She said, "Oh my gosh," she gave me that look like I was a piece of meat. And I know that look because that's the way I've looked at people. at women. So, and I'm not proud of that. I'm just owning it. I understand who I am and what I am. And she said, who are you? I said, my name's Walking Crow. She says, well, what do you do? I said, I sell sage. I'm an energy healer. I said, what do you do? And she said, I write books and I do this and I'm a Reiki master and I'm this and I'm that and I'm this and I'm that. And her ego and the material aspect of her was talking and talking. Finally, I stopped her. I said, yeah, but what do you do? And she got offended with me. She says, what do you mean what I do? I just finished telling you I do this, I do that, I do this, I do that, I do this, I've done this, I do that. I said, yeah, but do you practice? She said, no. I said, oh, you don't do anything. And I called her on her carpet a hole. Now, that's a little tough for somebody that I just met. But guess what? I didn't open my big mouth and tell somebody what I did. I just kept it small. I'm an energy healer and I sell sage. And that's it. Well, that particular woman, she got past her being offended, her ego of being offended. And she said, I'd like to come see you. I said, if you're going to come see me, you can see me 4 times, 2 weeks apart for 4 sessions. And she did that. And but the first day she came to see me, she's on the table. And I start to go to work and she starts to breathe. Now, I understand through this breathing, she's trying to be fluid, but she doesn't know about energy. What she doesn't know about energy, I don't care what kind of master she thinks she is, what kind of master she claims to be, what kind of master she doesn't know what she's talking about. So she says, I asked her, what is it that you're doing? She says, I'm moving the energy. I said, you're not moving shit. I'm not moving shit. I'm being here for being a facilitator, allowing the energy to move through me as it moves through me, as it chooses to move through me into you. That's it. That's all. Your body will find the places that it needs. The energy will find the places that are deficient within your body, within your emotion, within your soul, within your mind, if you can let go of that, and let it do the work. Well, she had never heard that before. And I had never said that before. So my guides were teaching me. My guides were always in the office with me. They were always in the healing room with me. They're always with me when I'm doing remote sessions, remote long distance sessions. See, the fluidity moves as the fluidity moves. I don't need a camera to do a long distance session. My fluidity moves. I just ask my client to lay down in their bed or on the couch, and I do a 1 hour session on them. And then I call them an hour and a half later to bring them out of that state of bliss. And where they go is where they go. Now, I also tell them, kind of express some things that might happen, but I also say this because this is fluid. If you feel like nothing happened, something happened, because something always happens. Now, I don't limit myself with the blocks that I was limited with by others. I maintain an open-ended, just like the gates, an open-ended idea of understanding and knowing that energy is going to flow wherever I go, wherever I ask it to be, whoever I connect with, and the fluidity starts moving between us as we both maintain our autonomy. And with that, people say, you know, don't you take up other people's energy on? Aren't you afraid of? Why would I be afraid? Why am I going to give myself that kind of poison? Why would I do that? I'm not here to receive a negative energy from somebody. And by the way, I have a teacher named Mazawali. He's my elder. He says there are no good and bad energies. There's only different energies. So we're just dealing with different. We're not dealing with good or bad. And when we start to change the way we speak, the fluidity of our mouth, the fluidity of our heart, the fluidity of our low esteem, the fluidity of not being grounded, not being rooted, not being fruited, the fluidity of the broken connections that we can't make through our sacrum because we've been transgressed upon emotionally, sexually, physically. We can't do the right thing for the right reason because we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. So our fluidity has been blocked. So I maintain my fluidity and my knowing, my understanding, and that person on the other end has a healing, and it's amazing. And I'll give another example. Monday, I decided to do a full moon journey for the grandmother moon, the pink moon, on Monday, and I did a live drum journey, and a lot of people signed on, and there was people who came in and excuse me, and from Australia, and I received a message from two people, one in Michigan and one in Australia, and both had profound experiences. But the one in Australia said, I had an experience where I saw a chief, and he had a feather, and I saw Jesus, and Jesus had a feather, and Jesus was dressed in a headset. And he had all this experience that he shared with me. And I thought, wow. And he's from Perth, Australia. And he said, you know, I've never met any Native Americans. Don't have any experience. I don't know what it is, why I would be having that sort of journey with you when I've never even been there. Well, you don't have to be here to be that. Your lifetimes will show you who you are, what you are, where you've been, what you've been doing as you move along. Because in my family, there's nobody else who does what I do. I was the repair of the lineage in my family when I stopped drinking, taking spirits into my body. Spirits in, spirit out. Spirit is a block that keeps us from being in our the full capacity of who and what we are. A whole. And as soon as we start buying the package of who we're not, what we can't be, who we shouldn't be, well, you need a degree, well, you're not a doctor, well, you're not a lawyer, well, you're not a president, you're not a undertaker, you're not any of those things. I don't have to be. As Lloyd read my bio, I'm a philosopher, I'm a storyteller. You're hearing the stories, you're hearing my philosophies, you're hearing my medicine. I'm a shamanic practitioner, a shamanic drummer. Well, what does that mean? It means different things to different people. That doesn't stop with me. I don't really like to claim that word, but people call me that. That's their fluidity, that's their understanding, and I allow it, and I say yes. I allow my fluidity to move through the common unity of the community, and the community and the common unity of the community respond. Aho, aho, aho. So, you know, what is it that you're doing today for yourself? What is it that you're doing today for others? And if you're doing for others, you're doing for your esteem, you know. And if you feel you have to explain what it is you do and how you do it to a client, you're not esteemed. And if you don't like what I just said, I can't help you, because that comes from a place of low esteem. It's not my business how things land on you. It's my business to say what I have to say and be that and stand tall as the tree. Aho. That's why I do what I do. That's why I go where I go. That's why I am who I am. That is Walking Crow at his finest and his fullest. Aho. And that's not arrogance, and that's not conceit. That's just an understanding of saying yes to me after a lifetime of no's. And I'll ask you to step into your fluidity and your autonomy in front of other people by saying yes to yourself. Stop allowing the blocks of judgment, the blocks of shame, the blocks of not being loved or not being liked by what you say and what you do and who you are. Stop letting yourself live your life and the best life that you can possibly live by cutting off the fluidity, by trying to be like them and not like you. You know, I practice in Sedona. I live in Sedona. There's a lot of healers here. And there's a lot of people who do a lot of things on Facebook. But I don't know what they're doing on Facebook because I don't watch that. I'm not trying to be like them. I'm not trying to be them. I don't need to be a sound healer with bowls. I don't need to play a djembe. I don't need to be a Reiki master. I don't need to be a lot of things, right? I just need to be Walking Crow and do what Walking Crow does. And like I said, the book to doing what I do, the book to teaching what I teach, the book to mentoring those around me who find medicine in my words and medicines in my actions, because my actions speak louder than my words. Are you walking or are you talking? I'm a walker. I'm a walker. I'm a walker. In fact, I just thought about Star Wars. I'm a Jabberwocky. I talk and I move. I talk and I move. I move and I talk. And I share with others what it is that they're going to need, and I never know what that is. I can't tell you how many of thousands of times in my medicine practice since I turned 50, 51, that people have said to me, You know, whenever I heard your videos or I watched your videos, I felt like you were talking to me. That was just said to me yesterday by a young woman in Illinois, you know, and what a blessing that is, that I'm able to speak through my feet, speak through my grounding, speak through my manifestation, my well-being, my earth, my mother, my home, my security, my safety, my job. What is my job? My job is to be like the tree and to be selfless. You know, not everybody likes every tree. Some people have a affinity to a plum tree. Some people have an affinity to an oak tree. Some people have an affinity to whatever kind of tree is in their vision, and they fall in love with that tree, and they'll go out into the countryside and they'll hug a tree. They'll spend time with the energy of the tree, and within that circular energy of the root and the shoot, what I call the branch of the shoot, the root and the shoot, the fluidity of the divinity and the duality of the pillars. The circulating energy, the up and down, the yin and yang are the pillars of that tree. That tree also lives in duality. Aho, aho. As below, so above. As below, above, so below. So there's the flow and the fluidity is in everything. And once you begin to understand about yourself, you begin to release the limitations, your limitations, not only of self-doubt, not only of self-knowledge, not only of low self-esteem, of fear, of anger, and all those things, but you start to come into a light that is more powerful than the sun. You start to come into a self that is more powerful than the you. You start to come into a voice that is like the angels, and it sings. And when it starts to speak, you will rattle things off that'll amaze you, and you'll say to yourself, did that just come out of my mouth? Because that's what happens with me. Things come out of my mouth, just like this quote. Autonomy is the fluidity of movement within the unit of the pillars. And when I reread that a year or two later, I was just amazed that that came out of me. And it really didn't come out of me. It came into me, through me, channeled through you to you, so I could share that medicine, because it couldn't be heard by anybody other than me. And I'm grateful. And I'm grateful. And there's another quote that's on the bottom of all my emails, and it goes like this: gratitude is a daily investment. Are you griping and groaning about where your life is? Are you angry at somebody? Are you upset because you didn't get yours? Are you upset because your check hasn't come from the government? Are you upset because when's that going to happen? Are you upset because you can't go out and do something, or you have to wear a mask? Are you upset about all that stuff? Because acceptance in Alcoholics Anonymous, they say, is the key. Acceptance is the key. But I say this: expectance is the key. Because there's another saying, a bumper sticker that says, shit happens, right? So if shit happens, if you can believe that, then why not live in the expectance that something may happen, something may come up. It may not happen the way that I want it to. The fluidity of its nature is not my nature. So I'll nurture my nature and my fluidity of my autonomous self, and not connect to that thing, a check or a gift or a girlfriend or a husband or Mr. Right or Mr. Right Now or Mrs. Right or Mr. Right Now, any of those things, a car, a bike, rain, it's going to rain. Oh no, it's going to rain. Oh my God, it's always raining. Summer's over, winter's over, blah, blah, blah. There's still the moaning and groaning of people saying, winter's over. When's it going to stop raining? What do you care? Maybe you need the water as an example to wash away that griping and groaning and complaining. That is fluidity. That is seeing things in hindsight. Those are seeing things in 2020, which is hindsight. Aho. Because it's not always apparent to you. And if it's not always apparent to you, and if it's never apparent to you, are you apparent to yourself? Are you helping yourself grow in every way that you can possibly grow? Are you speaking highly of yourself? Are you edifying yourself and those around you? Because everything that I'm talking about is fluidity. Fluidity of nurturance of the nature. Nurturance of whose nature? The nurturance of my nature. And do you know what your nature is? You know, you'll have to ask yourself, why did I become a healer? Why am I looking for a healer? Why did I call that tarot reader? Why do I want to be a tarot reader? Why do I want to be a sound facilitator? Why do I want to be a drummer? Why do I want to be a flute player? Why do I want to go to Sedona? Why do I want to go to Shasta? Why do I want to go to Santa Fe, wherever it is that spiritual people are? Why? You know, there's a lot of people here in Sedona that want to be big fish in a small pond. Guess what? Who cares? Who cares what size fish you are? If there's too many fish in the tank, guess what? Nobody's swimming. Nobody's going anywhere, and fluidity ceases to happen. And your autonomous nature is you're griping and you're complaining and you're groaning because you can't move your fins like you'd like to. You can't move around the tank like you like to. And when the master's going to feed us in the beginning of the day, in the middle of the day, at the end of the day, there isn't enough food because everybody's fighting for the bits and pieces. I don't fight for bits and pieces. I have what I have, and I do what I do because I do what I do, and I don't care what other people are doing. Aho. So learn how to not pay attention to what others are doing. Do what you do. Do what you do. You know, I've never said to people, if you come to me, I will clear you. I will clear your dark energies. I will clear this. I hear a lot of people say that, and that's not true. Sorry, not sorry, and you're not going to like that. The fluidity of my autonomy is I am a facilitator. I am your guide. I will be the light in the beginning of your journey. Then you become the light. You come into your own light and you start to work through that. And then you call me and we ebb and flow between each other. And we start to pull a thread of the sweater to start to uncover, discover, and embrace the issues in your tissues. Were you molested? Were you treated poorly by your father? Was your father never there? Was your mother always at work? Were you bullied at school? You know, did you try pot for the first time at 12 years old, at 11? And if so, why? Right? The why is the biggest question you should have. But you can't get stuck on the why. Once you understand the why, it's time for the doing and the being and the being of the doing of the becoming, of the journey of the stepping through the fluidity of autonomy, of your autonomous nature through the gateways of the pillar. And moving between the pillars, if you have a lover, if you have a wife, if you have if you're a male with a male partner, a female with a female partner, whatever the case may be. If you're moving energy between you and your child, if you're struggling with a child who's wounded because your husband left or because the wife left and they're acting out, well, how do I become fluid and remain autonomous instead of being, I'm your father, do as I say. I'm your mother, do as I say. Behave, stop acting out. Well, that doesn't help anything. It doesn't get anything done. So you get to the bottom of the nurturance of the nature and you get down on one knee and get down to the size of the child. If the child is 4 feet tall, sit down next to them so you're equal to them and ask questions that draw answers, not lay blame, not lay blame on an ex-partner or whatever it is. The fluidity will come if you try to reach out to the nurturance of the nature of the child, the nurturance of the nature of the ex-spouse, the nurturance of the nature of the ex-girlfriend, the nurturance of the nature of the ex-boss. You know, sometimes people get let go. In California, they have an at-will, system. An employer can fire you whenever they want without having to give you a reason. Here's your check, bye. You know, but the duality in that is I can quit. I don't have to give you a reason. I just don't have to come back anymore. And don't call me. Give me my check. I'm out of here. You know, that goes both ways. I can make a decision to live in that nature as I please to. And I did that. I walked away from my job. I was working as a clerk because I had gotten laid off for, as far as I'm concerned, the last time in my industry. And I came from the tech industry, right? Real heady shit. Excuse my language, computers and buttons and applications and software and hardware and all those things. And finally, I got laid off for the last time and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I surrendered myself to the medicine man that I was becoming. And I surrendered myself to the fact that my now ex-wife wanted me to get a job, and I wanted to step into the nurturance of my nature, of the healer within me, right? That I was already on my journey of, and she didn't know how to do that, and she couldn't do that, and she wouldn't do that, and she said she was, and it was honestly she wasn't, because she asked for a divorce. You know, it doesn't take, and we don't become this thing overnight. The manifestation comes way down the line. Sometimes you never see that when it appears. And like I said earlier, I sold some drums this week, and I had rattles and clients and blah, blah, blah. That wasn't just a day of work or receiving a phone call. That was the beginning of the duality of my second half of my lifetime, right? All that work that I did there, all that work that I did in the first lifetime, and then I stepped forward in the second lifetime at 52, all the work that I've done since then, since the age of 52, 51, has led to this week, to this moment, right here, right now, being being fluid with you, excuse me. Sometimes the sage and the opening of the portal with tobacco gets to my lungs. It led to this moment, being able to have this talk, and the abundance of knowledge, and the abundance of words, and the abundance of medicine, and the abundance of feeling, and the abundance of healing. The abundance of healing that I'm able to share with you and express the nurturance of my nature, and maintaining the autonomy of my fluid nature of the movement between the pillars. And what are the pillars? You and I. You and I. What are the pillars? Me and myself, right? Head, body, a whole. Which is it? I choose to live in my body. I don't choose to live in my head. The head space is nothing but trouble. Spirit's in, spirit out. Remove the spirits, spirit returns. And that happened for me 28 years ago. You know, I removed that block, that thing that kept me from you. In fact, speaking of the block, getting back to that song, I remember as a little child kicking against a stone wall I built around myself. I won't give in. I won't feel guilty. I'll just rise up and I'll be myself. So I built that wall around the boy, 268-pound boy, man. And the problem with that wall is that it kept me from you. It kept me from God, the fluid nature of God. And it kept me, worst of all, from the autonomous nature of the fluidity of movement within the pillars of my heart, my soul, my root, my water, my fire, my air, a whole, my voice, my expression, my ether, my universe, my God, the heavens, the stars, the moon, the sky, a whole. It kept me from all those things. And that was sad. You know, that's a sad life. You know what they call that? They call that depression. They call that depression. And when I realized that, I decided to do something even more fluid. I climbed on the catapult. I climbed on the catapult and I set my sights on the fifth dimension. And I started to ascend through the years as I became the healer. I started to listen to the nature of the voice of, not the voices, not the monkey mind, not the static energy, but the voice of the ebb and flow of energies between me and the guides, me and Great Spirit, me and Great Mother. And they would ask me to do things. They would say, Walking Crow, make drums. And I go to Eagle Mountain in Porterville, and I meet a man, and I make my first drum, which is a big drum. But I didn't make it, he made it. I went there and I basically watched. And then a couple years later, the guy would say to me, Walking Crow, make your drum, make a small hand drum. And I did that. And I painted the symbols of the 4 directions on there. And I painted the face orange for connection of the drum. And I painted a crow on that. And that became my drum. And then soon a young boy came to my life and said, I'm a sitting bull, because he believed that he was 6 years old. And he believed that he was sitting bull, and his mother wanted to give him a drum. and I gave him my drum. I did ceremony for him. I took him to the foothills, and with him, his mother, another friend of mine, the Divine Feminine Goddess, Paige, and her nephew, we did ceremony. We did a fluid ceremony and allowed that energy to flow over that young boy who believes that he is Sitting Bull. I hope. And I believe he is Sitting Bull. Now, I didn't know how to do a ceremony like that, but they asked me to do what I do, the guides and the mom, and I allowed myself to be fluid and to shake it off and allow the energy to flow, and that's what came. I created ceremony. And there's a saying in the native world, and probably a lot of places, if you don't have ceremony, create ceremony. And that's what I've done. I've learned to listen. I've learned to be still in what some people would call noise. Well, when you try to get silent, you can be quiet, but there's always going to be a bird, a car in the distance, all those things. But when you get silent within your heart, never mind your mind, that'll never happen, because high human, when you get silent in your heart, the guides speak and give information. So as they gave me information, Walking Crow, become a drum maker. Walking Crow, start teaching to make drums. Walking Crow, make rattles. Walking Crow, go to Sedona. Walking Crow, leave your job and become the medicine man that you have always been. I say yes to the fluidity of my autonomous nature. And I move from the pillar of Eagle Rock, California to Sedona, Arizona. And my fluid nature has been flowing across the land back and forth ever since. And now I just live here. Now, there's people will say, well, I can't do that. I have this responsibility and I have to do this. And there are no have-tos in life. There's no shoulds and there's no shouldn'ts. And when you start to put those roadblocks up, and you'll have an explanation for it, and I'll sit there and I'll roll my eyes at you and I'm like, settle down. Just settle down and listen to yourself. When we start to put those roadblocks up, we stop the fluid movement. We stop becoming autonomous in our own nurturance of our nature. And there is no room for you to move between the pillars or through the pillars as the gateway. You stop yourself, you block yourself, you set limitations for yourself that you don't understand and you don't know how to remove, because you keep speaking to them. As a man speaketh, so is he in his heart. So remove the blocks, kick the stones out of that wall one at a time, and say yes to you. Say yes to your amazing nature. Say yes to the fluidity, which is you. There's people that say, in Alcoholics Anonymous, I use this as an example because they're a constant contradiction. They say, well, I hate change. Oh, well, really? Well, the millions of cells that change in your body on a daily basis never ask for your permission. And I laugh just like I did, because they don't, and they never will, and they do what they do without your guidance, without your ego getting involved. The body is a magnificent creature. The body is a magnificent source of fire, fuego, I can, I will, I do, I am. It's the source of the I am, the I am, the I am, the fluidity of who and what I say I am, and who and what I've always been. A whole. I don't speak like this to get your attention. I speak like this because I stand at attention. I am the tree that is selfless. I am the tree that has always been. I am the tree that is rooted and fruited. And the nature of the tree is to see the other trees. And I will ask Grandmother Tree, Grandmother Tree, can I have a branch to make my home? And she will say, here's a branch to make my home, my son. And the tree remains standing. And I go to her later and I say, Grandmother Tree, can I have a branch to make my drum? And she says, here you go, my son. Here's a drum a branch to make your drum. Oh, Grandmother Tree, can I have some of your fruit? I'm hungry. Please, my son, take some of my fruit, but leave some for the others. Leave some for the birds of the airs. Leave some for the squirrels. Oh, but please take some of my fruit. And she shares her abundance without asking me why, without asking me what, without asking me what for. The selflessness of the tree says yes. And she moves in the air. She moves in fluidity of her fluidity in her dance as she reaches up to the heavens, to Great Spirit, to Great Mother, to Grandfather Sun, to Grandmother Moon, to Father Sky. And she remains of the fluidity, through the fluidity as she dances, and the water flows through her roots and moves upward through the fruit, which goes into the birds and the animals and into me. And that moves forward and moves forward and moves forward, as fluidity does, as energy does. You can't stop energy. Just because somebody dies doesn't mean their energy stops moving. It just means it moves and transforms, transitions, transcends, transmutes into a different way of fluidity. Its autonomous nature will change, and it'll become potentially a Hindi, potentially an Italian from Rome, potentially an Alaskan Eskimo, potentially somebody from South America or Asia or Middle Europe, wherever. That energy will flow outward, or that person will become a jaguar or a lion or a bear or the coyote or the wolf protector, a whole protector. Who's to say what the fluidity of the nurturance in nature will result in? It's not for us to say, and it's not for you to doubt. It's only for you to do and be in the being of your doing. Talking is not doing, thinking is not doing, wishing is not doing, wanting is not doing, gonna is not doing. Doing is doing. And be in the doing of the nurturance of your nature, and step into the autonomous nature of the fluidity and movement between you and the other pillars. You are the pillar. You are the pillar. I am the pillar. We are the pillar. And there are many pillars. So I know Floyd's out there someplace. Floyd, if you have any questions, or if anybody has any questions, that's quite a lot out of me. That's almost near an hour. But lots to say, and the repetitive nature of the way I say things is necessary to get the point across, because sometimes people hear it in different ways.
I'm not seeing anybody asking any questions.
That's okay.
I thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
I thank you. Thank you. It's giving. I used to do a radio show, and I used to do an hour every week.
Wow.
And that was quite interesting. I didn't know I could do that.
That's awesome. Could I ask you to do some drumming to close it out?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to use the big drum because it's magnificent. I'm going to drum, and then I'll sing Ayawana Ishtu. Ayawana Ishtu is cover me, cover me, cover me in spirit. Aho. Hey, thank you, Great Spirit. Thank you, Great Mother. Thank you. The power and the guidance of the medicine wheel, the 4 directions, all my relations, spirit guides, and my spirit animals, and all those who would listen and not listen, and all those who would watch and not watch. I thank you all. Boy.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, you know, this was great. We talked about ways that we could reach more people and bring some teachings from other people in with it, and you know, so we're grateful that you were able to join us, and
Thank you.
maybe we can
Me too.
collaborate again.
I will look forward to it.
Awesome.
I didn't ever used to collaborate, and I found within the last probably 6 months that it works out really well sometimes.
Cool. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And as of now, we're going to be in Sedona in August. So we were supposed to be there next week, but you know, with everything that happened, our retreat got moved out to August. So
yeah,
we will we'll let you know when we're coming to town and look you up.
Where are you guys having your retreat?
The retreat's at Mago Retreat Center.
Oh, okay.
Which is out between Cottonwood and Sedona.
Bill Gray Road.
On Bill Gray Road.
Philbray. Okay. Yeah, I'm out in Cornville.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love Cornville. Cornville is where they have the rocks in the park, the crystal show.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
We like going to that. So.
All right. Well, cool. So I just scheduled a bunch of drum making events for actually through June or July, and I'm going to continue scheduling those through August, September, October. If people want to come into Sedona, they're going to be here having that experience. Should be it's always a lot of fun. It's a blessing to share that with people.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you again. And we'll look forward to watching you on Facebook. And
all right, my brother.
Say
hello to your lovely wife, and thank you for having me.
You're very welcome, and I'll let her know.
All right. Take care.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is our last. That's our last presentation for today. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and many blessings, and we look forward to seeing you soon.